Every few decades, a breakthrough comes along and redefines what's possible. What's going on, guys? It's Will Rich. In this video, we're going to take a look at quantum computing being that breakthrough. And Rigetti, which is a stock that a lot of people haven't heard of, could be at the forefront of this trillion-dollar market transformation. So in this video, we're going to take a look at Rigetti, and whether you're, a big investor or just someone that's, investing on your own, this will give you kind of an idea of how Rigetti's looking to shape up in the near term. Let's take a look at the overall direction. And we're going to cover three things in this video: the markets, we're going to jump into the analysis, which is broken down into a few parts, and we're going to go into the profit plan and what potential we can see, the risk to reward here in the near term. Now, the first thing is the market. Rigetti stock is in quantum computing. So quantum computing is estimated to grow from $3 to $5 trillion in the coming years. So we're very early to this market, as right now it's just in the hundreds of millions of dollars in market size. But we could see it get up into the trillions of dollars, according to some of these companies like IBM and Microsoft. And the quantum market really did push up after hours today. So today, starting to look more green. When we take a little bit of a step back at Rigetti, we've traded it pretty consistently from November when we started covering it at $1 a share. And we were able to have some really great trades to end out last year. And we also were able to, by the time December rolled around and it was at an all-time high of $20, we saw this crash happen as a result of NVIDIA CEO saying that they are 15 or 30 years away, the quantum companies, which we went to the conference exactly where he made that announcement, and we got to go see firsthand. And a lot of the quantum companies said, well, we're actually providing solutions right now, and it looks more like 3 to 5 years, not 15 to 30 years. So shortly after that, from January into February, we saw a big rebound on the market. And then on top of that, you had Jensen, the CEO of NVIDIA, introduce quantum computing, the Q2Q, and quantum sector into their company. So rallies started to kick in a little more. And then you see with the rest of the market, back in April, we saw some sell-offs, and it found a support there at around $6.50. And then since then, if we show the drawings, it's really been on a trend from April, on that drop on April 7th, to $6 all the way to $14.50 right now. Now, a couple things to consider with Rigetti. We've covered it pretty in depth, right? That it's at this level that's a previous resistance at about $14. But outside of that level, we've said, with this recent trend that started to develop, you kind of see this level here at which it started to trend for the past month. So now we're getting into, from the market to the analysis stage, we're in the chart outlook. And this is in our second step of analysis, which is charting. And what you see is this sweeping 200-day moving average, this green line, acting as a support. So this is April into May, mid-May, and now today, where it's been holding above that SMA, that green line. Then we have it holding above the blue line, that EMA, which is oftentimes going to indicate bullish momentum. So if you go back to when it was trending, let's say down, what do we see? It's getting rejected by that green line, that 200-day moving average, and it's holding below that blue line, that EMA, for most cases in a bear market. So when we were bullish, same deal. It was bouncing and holding above that green line, that 200-day moving average, and that blue line before, again, that correction. So we're starting to see this trend develop where it's holding above the blue line pretty consistently for the last month. And now it just broke out above this rising resistance back here about a week ago. And now it's possibly using that previous resistance as a support, which would indicate some more hyper bullish momentum. Now, the RSI and the MACD overall, when we look at it from just kind of taking a step back, they're more on the overbought side. We see it push up recently, but it's possible that if it can break out above this $14 or $15 range, which we mapped out as a previous resistance, that we could see Rigetti make this run. So this is the support level, the resistance at which it's at right now, that it's maybe consolidating at really for the last week. And we're saying if it breaks out above here, that would be indication we're starting to see real momentum into previous highs. Previous highs would be where we saw back here in January. It'd be about a 46% increase if we actually get to see those levels. So is it springing to make that move? Well, we're starting to see some momentum in that direction. Now we got to see with NVIDIA's new earnings coming out very good today. We had a video come out earlier where NVIDIA reported their earnings. They came in up on their revenue and on their earnings per share. They were able to beat there. So overall market with NVIDIA, we could potentially see continue some of that momentum, the tech market. And so that kind of brings us from the chart. We'll get back into where we see our entry. But when it comes to the financials, which is B of our analysis on RGTI, is the reality is their market cap is up there. It's about $4 billion market cap. You have a lot of hype articles, so you got to watch out, right? You have everybody saying, is it worth investing? All these little known articles coming out that are just saying, buy it. It's a 2,000 gainer. Get in before it's too late. And on top of that, you have a lot of YouTubers that are, saying buy now, and comparing it to other things like, I don't know, what is that? Herbalife and Abercrombie? I don't even know. But the reality is we want to go straight to the source and really look at the news. But before we get into that, their financials recently. So when it comes to their recently reported income statements, they came in with a net income positive of $42 million in their recent quarter. That's showing net income increasing, which is good because with both their net income positive and their revenue positive, it's good because when you look at the quarterly of last quarter, it was very negative. And then when you look at annual, that negative quarter they just had really brought down. I mean, you can see it's almost like they spent more and more and more with really about the same revenue. So with their recent spending, then cutting down their net income turning positive in their last quarter, now that's starting to indicate that the company has an edge. They found something that worked, that they're able to increase their net income and not have a negative net income in this last quarter. In fact, this last quarter they just had was the most positive net income they were able to report. So from a financial standpoint, things starting to improve a little bit, but from a standpoint of overall this year, that quarter before last was not the best. So now we're starting to say, okay, if they continue that, we could see the company really start to build momentum and the financials don't look too bad. But again, negative and a $4 billion market cap, a lot of what happens with these quantum companies is the future-based investing of really betting that quantum computing is going to be one of the main technologies that's used in the future to this AI boom's advantage of being able to use large amounts of computing power without using a lot of energy, but actually keeping it efficient. So that's where quantum computing comes in for AI, and it would make sense that Rigetti would be one of the main players there. So then we start to look at RGTI, Rigetti, from a standpoint of their news. They have their Novera system that they've sold, and I believe it's around $1 million for this system. You can take a look at this right here. It says it's a lot to process. Novera QPU is manufactured with the same caliber as Rigetti's larger systems and is ready to help you solve your biggest challenges. With cutting-edge technology, enhanced experimentation capabilities, and a network of experts behind it, Novera equips you like never before with what you need to excel in quantum computing. So really good offer and refined over 10 years. They have 24/7 system access, and it says future-proof and upgrade and improve your hardware as technology evolves. And they say that it can be all built upon this Novera QPU. So 9 qubits, tunable couplers, 12 Fidelity for 2-qubit gates above 99% at 99.4%. And it looks like about 900K. Now, I noticed that they were selling some of these to some colleges. They had sold one to, I think it was Montana State University, and they're selling them to mostly research centers. You got Oxford Instruments, Zurich Instruments. You have software being a part of this. So Novera QPU customers integrate with many quantum computing software platforms, from Q Control, which is a popular one, as well as Classic and Quantum Elements, Riverlane. And we start to see them heat up in the conversation of AI-powered calibration of quantum computers. So there's some good articles that have come out around AI kind of helping the quantum calibration. So imagine you have a problem you're trying to solve with a quantum computer. You run all of your data through the quantum computer to come out with an answer, and maybe that answer could be better or gives you multiple answers, and they want to narrow it down or figure out what the next path of research could be, or where to go deeper, or how to process that answer. And they can run it through an AI to get an answer. They can then run it back through the quantum computer. So with that in conversation, and then with the development of their newly Novera QPU that they have, their partner program, and where they're offering it to universities, is pretty good. When you go over to their investor side of their news, outside of the earnings call there, they recently haven't had a lot of brand new articles come out. They've been to some recent conferences, and they've also got some new partnerships from it looks like QFox and QCC, collaboration on multi-channel optical readout for quantum processors. So they are working with a lot of different companies on the research side of things. They did get granted this Air Force Office Scientific Research. It's a $5.48 million contract with, and also includes Iowa State University, the Royal Melbourne Institute of Technology, University of Connecticut. So that's kind of what we're talking about, where they're building research centers and getting out there with their technology, and on top of that, getting paid to do it. So they also got this DARPA QBI, which is their quantum benchmarking initiative, is to verify and validate that quantum computing can achieve utility scale operations by 2033. So essentially, utility scale operations, this is participating Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, and QBI will use multi-stage approaches, stage A being a 6-month performance period focused on the company's utility scale quantum computer concept that's worth up to about $1 million upon completion. Then they have a proposed concept to design utility scale quantum computer, and it looks like when they get into B and C and all that, they actually don't really cover it in full, but that's stage A. So with $1 million to start, it's possible they put themselves in a position to have a multi-million-dollar stage B, even, who knows, $50 to $100 million stage C. We just really don't know based on, how far it goes, but we'll see if they get through this stage A here. So from a news perspective, a lot of new things coming out. There's a lot of hype around the stock, but really, I would encourage you guys to check out their main sites, how their quantum computer works and functions. And even on their YouTube, they do a full breakdown of how their quantum computer works. And they also got distribution channels for people to use this quantum computer through the cloud. So if you wanted to use it through AWS, we could go over to Amazon's AWS and find Rigetti on Amazon bracket there. So quantum computers, Rigetti, and trusted cloud right here. Build quantum projects, research quantum computing algorithms, and they even have some different promotions for you to use quantum computers right now at a discount and get free credits. So I would encourage you guys, check out the Microsoft, the AWS. It is something, when the biggest companies in the world are testing out some of the softwares and the usability of these quantum computers, it definitely goes to show that something is happening. On top of that, with their QPU, quantum processing unit, there is a perfect fit right there for the new Microsoft Majorana 1. So if you look at the Majorana 1, which is the quantum chip that was just launched by Microsoft, you'd see this right here is where it would go is at the QPU at the bottom of a quantum computer. And if you're curious what that would look like, a quantum computer all the way down to the QPU. So you go from essentially up here, you got the dilution refrigerator, so 5 casings, and they nest inside each other to act as a thermal and radiation shield. It comes down to a signal chain that delivers microwave signals to and from the chip to drive qubit operations and return measured results. Then you get to the temperature stages, right? So these are separate cooling zones at the bottom, and they plunge into 1/100th of a Kelvin, hundreds times colder than outer space. Then you have the mixing chamber. So at the lowest, coldest plate sits the most critical hardware, amplifiers, cables, filters, and mounts that hold the quantum processing unit. And you get down to the QPU. So again, that QPU, it really does look like this would be at the bottom of the quantum computer that's from Microsoft. And so same thing with like the Ocelot chip or other chips. It seems like maybe there's some sort of integration there that could potentially be had with Rigetti. So from a news perspective and where they're going, it's very exciting. I see them as an innovator, and I hope that you guys found it helpful to see that. When it comes to the next part of the analysis, which we get into past the financials, we got to cover the exciting part of their news and the chart and seeing it kind of break above that resistance. Now we're starting to look at what is this next move. Now, at market open tomorrow, we're going to see if it holds this level at above $14. If for some reason we see it sell down, and it kind of sold down today, but we see it break below, it's not so good. But I have some entries here on Rigetti. You can see our 38% return buying Rigetti. And we also have long-term positions, right? So we sold out our short-term position. We're not in any short-term positions anymore, but our long-term positions we've been investing in really since November, right? So not going to touch the long-term. I really like where Rigetti's going, but the short-term, what we're looking for some of this swing trading is possibly if it holds above this level, above this 1430, 1450 range, then we'd set a stop loss below it, somewhere in this probably $14 range, and we'd look to possibly see Rigetti make this run up into the $16 to $20 range. Now, if it makes that run, again, it's between, that's a 10% swing, halfway up would be 24, and all the way up to previous highs would be about a 47% return. So margin for profit is there. Just important that we consistently implement our plan and make sure that we use our risk management when trading it for doing shorter term trades. So we'll see if we do end up trading it. It most likely would be at market open when the market dips significantly. Sometimes in these bull markets, especially today, the market just dips and then we see the recovery throughout the day. And that's usually when we end up buying. And a lot of times it just comes down to getting more confirmation that that dip is starting to reverse and taking advantage of these swings. It's quite evident there with Rigetti. I mean, some of our stock mates were really happy with the returns recently. And if you ever want to join our live sessions, you can see some of these examples of where it dips at market open and then recovers throughout the day. It dips and then hits that, that right there. And then you got market open right here, and then it pushes up rest of the day. Today, we had market open right here. It's sold down and then pushed up throughout the rest of the day. And so just identifying when that happens is what we look for. So if it piques your interest to invest in quantum, in technology, space stocks, AI, especially in our AI boom right now, I would encourage you guys to check that second link in the description. That stock meet will be live tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. If you want to be in our daily live trading, it's also included with a free t-shirts when you join StockMeet lifetime access. And we got a huge sale there that I would encourage you to simply take a look at. It's the second link in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Let me know your thoughts on Rigetti below. If I earned your thumbs up, hit that like button. Do consider subscribing, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.